you need to have a franchise quarterback, not necessarily to win a Super Bowl, because you can go to a Super Bowl with a quarterback who's not. You don't have to have Peyton Manning or Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl, but to really have a chance to put together a run, it's best to have one. Which brings me to Matt Castle, who just basically just signed.
He made his lucrative career dreams come true.
Yes, he signed a six-year, $60 million deal, and at first blush, you say, "Boy, that's a big risk." I tell you what, I looked at the Chiefs because it was interesting to me. The Chiefs went 2-14 last year, and to get Scott Pioli from New England was. I don't think it could be overestimated what a coup it was. Mm-hmm. I looked into the Chiefs a little bit. The Chiefs last year, their starting defense, their oldest starting defender was 26. Okay, so they had the youngest, worst defense basically in the league this side of the Lions last year, but their offense was pretty good. They add Pioli, who made brilliant moves. In my book, not flashy, but added defense in the draft, added a franchise quarterback without giving up too much, traded Tony Gonzalez, who is a guy who might have a couple more years in him, and they know they're not going to really contend this year. It definitely reinforced to me that when the mistake that teams have made, they saw the Patriots' success, and they said, wow, I want a piece of that. And then instead of trying to go for Pioli or the front office guys, they got Romeo Crennel, who was, along for the ride. It was pretty clear as a head coach. Mangini, book is still out on him. And then the Broncos. When you look at what Scott Pioli has done in Kansas City since he's got there, which is make sound moves. He's got the home fans. He's got a young coach. He's doing everything you should do. Same thing that the Thomas Dimitroff did in Atlanta. Okay, we're doing things this way. We're building for the future, and instantly it turned around.
And it's that understanding that you can't do it in 1 year.
But it's amazing to me that you could have, and and Belichick is still, now he's basically the man here, the only man here. You're talking about why would anyone else do it another way? Why would Jerry Jones not instantly rethink everything he does and say, I've got to do it this way? And then you look at in my mind, I'm not going to be surprised at all if the Chiefs 2 years from now are 11-5, because they got great home fans. They got this incredible young defense that hasn't produced anything yet, but
it's got to mature.
And Castle's still maturing too.
Castle, he's a pretty good quarterback.
He had a really good year last year.
Yes.
And his first taste of that starting role. So as he comes into it, when he gets to be, closer to Brady's age, and they're really only a couple of years difference between the two of them.
But it was the second half of the season was when he emerged. The first half of the season he was an okay quarterback in a great system. The second half of the season, he was looking like a really good quarterback.
And how much more comfortable is he going to feel on a team where it is his team?
Right.
It is his offense. He's not just filling in for somebody.
I think he'll feel more comfortable, except when being sacked somewhere in the 40 to 60 times a year range. But he gets sacked quite a bit here too. He's not Tom Brady. He's a different type of quarterback.
And he's also got to learn to mature in a new offense, and he's got to deal with a weaker weapon core than he had here.
Correct. He does not have Randy Moss, although he does have their offense was pretty good last year, and I expect I would not be at all shocked to see Kansas City even win 9 games this year. I think they could do it, just because even Herm Edwards, they went 2-14 last year. Herm Edwards was not a lock to be fired. Even at the end of that season, they were saying, well, maybe we should keep Herm Edwards, because they knew that they were putting out a team that year that was there to be built on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the problem is a lot of teams kind of fell in love with Matt Castle. I mean, a lot of NFL observers kind of fell in love with Matt Castle pretty easily, and they fall in love with a lot of what the Patriots do.
Right.
And you're saying they should kind of look toward the Patriots mold, but that works in this organization. You mentioned Jerry Jones, and of course we can throw Al Davis in the conversation. You got to think these are guys that already think that they're on par with Belichick, so they don't want to hire a Belichick. Excuse me. With the Chiefs, their situation, they knew that it wasn't working, and that they had to do something. And some of the talk out there today with this Castle signing is, well, you can say the Chiefs fell in love with a Patriots player, but that can't be the case when it's Scott Pioli that's the one that's making the deal for it. This is clearly not a case of somebody falling in love with a player, and it is going to be somebody that is not, but they know him. They know him inside and out. Scott Pioli knows Matt Castle inside and out. So if he was willing to put that kind of money on the line for this guy, then that means they really believe in him.
Yes.
And that they really believe it's worth spending that money for a quarterback around the rest of this team.
Yeah, he should not be a flop. He might not be great. He should be good enough, though. I was a little surprised at how high the money is, but that's NFL quarterback range this year. I just want to contrast that with Denver, with Josh McDaniel, who it's almost like he learned nothing. It's almost like he learned nothing from being in New England other than the kind of bad parts, which is to develop a reputation as being standoffish with the media, which he tried to play that cold thing, but it didn't work.
Yeah, you should have pulled the Mangini.
He traded. This is a team that had a bad defense that was old last year. He totally revamped it. They're known for this. You know how they're known for this zone blocking stuff. They had Terrell Davis rush for 2,000 yards and all this litany. He gets in there. He says, "Well, we're going to go away from zone blocking," which I guess means, well, we're going to try to do more of a passing game. But then he trades Jay Cutler away. He gets first-round picks, and that's great. But then he trades away one of those first-round picks for a second-round pick this year, which is basically the NFL equivalent of saying, "I'm terrible at my job." You know what I mean? If you're trading a second rounder for a first rounder, if you're trading a first rounder for a second rounder, that's not good.
Well, but what about the philosophy is we can get one of the players that we're looking for and not have to pay him first round money?
But a case like Denver's, this could be the first or second pick in the draft, and you always have options. If you've got the number 2 pick in the draft, you can always move down. You can do whatever you want. I mean, it just gives you more to play with. I just
kind of gave it up too soon before they really knew what the.
Yes, he seems like he wants to win now, and maybe that's his directive.
Could be very, very well be.
But boy, I would not be surprised at all if it's Denver that's the 4-12 team, and Kansas City's the better team. Even the Raiders, I think, are in a better direction than the Broncos.
Wow.
I think the Broncos. It's one of the most disastrous off seasons I can ever remember a team having.
And he's definitely not going to be helped by the fact that he made a lot of enemies in the Bronco fan base with the way that he handled this whole Cutler thing. They're not going to give him that sort of leash you would give a guy. Well, it's his first year. This team was a bad team that he's taking over. It's his first coaching job. That is all out the window.
Yeah. When you get a job, a football coaching job, and your first act is to run your franchise quarterback out of town, whether it's all his fault or not, I don't know, but that was the end result. It's I have a friend who's a Broncos fan, and I kind of just look at him sometimes. He just looks back at me. He knows what I'm thinking, and he just shakes his head and says, "Ugh."